Hi. Let's learn about the law of supply and demand in economics, how it works. Today, we will talk about the law of supply and demand combines two fundamental economic principles describing how changes in the price of a resource, commodity, or product affect its supply and demand. As the price increases, supply rises while demand declines. Conversely, as the price drops, supply constricts while demand grows. Levels of supply and demand for varying prices can be plotted on a graph as curves. The intersection of these curves marks the equilibrium, or market clearing price at which demand equals supply, and represents the process of price discovery in the marketplace. Many medieval thinkers, like modern-day critics of market pricing for select commodities, distinguished between a just price based on costs and equitable returns and one at which the sale was in fact transacted. Our understanding of price as a signaling mechanism matching supply and demand is rooted in the work of Enlightenment economists who studied and summarized the relationship. Importantly, supply and demand do not necessarily respond to price movements proportionally. The degree to which price changes affect the product's demand or supply is known as its price elasticity. Products with a high price elasticity of demand will see wider fluctuations in demand based on the price. In contrast, basic necessities will be relatively inelastic in price because people can't easily do without them, meaning demand will change less relative to changes in the price. The law of demand holds that demand for a product changes inversely to its price, all else being equal. In other words, the higher the price, the lower the level of demand. Because buyers have finite resources, their spending on a given product or commodity is limited as well, so higher prices reduce the quantity demanded. Conversely, demand rises as the product becomes more affordable. The law of supply relates price changes for a product with the quantity supplied. In contrast with the law of demand, the law of supply relationship is direct, not inverse. The higher the price, the higher the quantity supplied. Lower prices mean reduced supply, all else held equal. Also called a market clearing price, the equilibrium price is the price at which demand matches supply, producing a market equilibrium acceptable to buyers and sellers. At the point where an upward-sloping supply curve and a downward-sloping demand curve intersect, supply and demand in terms of the quantity of the goods are balanced, leaving no surplus supply or unmet demand. The level of the market clearing price depends on the shape and position of the respective supply and demand curves, which are influenced by numerous factors. In industries where suppliers are not willing to lose money, supply will tend to decline towards zero at product prices below production costs. Price elasticity will also depend on the number of sellers, their aggregate productive capacity, how easily it can be lowered or increased, and the industry's competitive dynamics. Taxes and regulations may matter as well. Consumer income, preferences, and willingness to substitute one product for another are among the most important determinants of demand. Consumer preferences will depend, in part, on a product's market penetration, since the marginal utility of goods diminishes as the quantity owned increases. The first car is more life-altering than the fifth addition to the fleet, the living room TV more useful than the fourth one for the garage. The law of supply and demand explains how the price of a product influences its supply and demand. Higher prices lead to an increase in supply and a decrease in demand. The law of supply and demand is essential because it helps investors, entrepreneurs, and economists understand and predict market conditions. For example, a company considering a price hike on a product will typically expect demand for it to decline as a result, and will attempt to estimate the price elasticity and substitution effect to determine whether to proceed regardless. When gasoline consumption plunged with the onset of the COVID-19 pandemic in 2020, prices quickly followed suit because the industry ran out of storage space. The price decline, in turn, served as a powerful signal to suppliers to curb gasoline production. Conversely, crude oil prices in 2022 provided producers with additional incentive to boost output. Here are 4 key takeaways. 1. The law of demand holds that the demand level for a product or a resource will decline as its price rises, and rise as the price drops. 2. Conversely, the law of supply says higher prices boost supply of an economic good while lower ones tend to diminish it. 3. A market clearing price balances supply and demand, and can be graphically represented as the intersection of the supply and demand curves. 4. The degree to which changes in price translate into changes in demand and supply is known as the product's price elasticity. Demand for basic necessities is relatively inelastic, meaning it is less responsive to changes in their price. Hope this would help. Thanks for watching.